Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. I know it's a curious time, with the rain, and people are walking around a bit stunned. But tonight we're going to ignore the elephant in the room. We're going to sort of push it out of the room, as it were, and we're just going to concentrate on the wonderful career of this strong, very talented woman, a little bit of escapism, and talking about the wonderful work that she's done. So, we're not going to talk about politics, Amy, but did you get any sleep last night?
Not a lot, so forgive me if I forget simple words. So.
And what time did you go to bed, would you say? Just curious.
2?
2.
2? Yeah.
And woke up, did you get any sleep?
Woke up at about 6.
Right.
Maybe 5, I don't know,
yeah.
something like that. In and out of weird dreams about hugging people. That was
Strangers,
my dream.
Right?
Strangers.
Which is a good sign, I guess.
Yeah, I was hugging people. I wanted them to absorb love, which is strange. That was my dream, yeah. It's not always like that. I'm not like, there aren't butterflies that circle my head and stuff. But.
Well, let's start talking about these two wonderful films that are out. Has anyone seen Arrival or Nocturnal Animals? They're both really good movies, and we were just talking about briefly before. At the outset of your career, you played very joyful characters, Junebug and Giselle in Enchanted, and these women are, I wouldn't say tortured, but there's a lot going on within them. And is that for you just a natural swing, given that it's 10, 15 years later in your life, in your career, or you're able to access these emotions more?
I think also more complex roles have been presented to me. At that time, those were the roles where I sort of found my niche. I was trying to find that at the time, and that was the door that opened up to me, and it was a wonderful door to walk through and to get to play in. But as I've grown as a woman and grown as an actress, these other doors have opened, and it's a real gift at 42 to get to tell stories of really strong, complicated, at times sad women. It's these really fully fleshed out characters. It's wonderful.
The film Arrival, what struck me about it, and we'll see a couple of clips from it in a second, was it's about a woman who's a linguist who's tapped to communicate with aliens, and she is almost the only woman in the picture.
Yeah,
There's very few others, and she is so open and receptive to communicating with them, and there's a culture of fear around her. It's the military. Mm-hmm. They're like, the aliens are here, it must be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that, this was a function of her being a woman, being curious, being a linguist? Did you think about these things going in?
Well, sure. I mean, I try not to judge the situation in which I'm presented. I mean, I think because at the core of what this film is, it's a story of a mother telling her daughter about this particular time and about why she made certain choices. And it's based on a short story. And I think that, because of the nature of that, it had to be a woman, But I did love that Denis, I was a little, you always wonder, because once...
The director, Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve, he's fantastic. He's French-Canadian. I do a horrible accent, so I apologize beforehand. I'm sure I'll do it tonight, because it's the only way I hear his voice. But I met with him. Yeah, I met with Denis. And I was curious sort of what his vision, without telling him what I thought, I asked him, why do you want to tell this story? And he said, because it is so beautiful, this mother telling a story. And he echoed my thoughts. And so I really felt that the film had an opportunity to make it onto screen the way that it was beautifully conceived inside of the script.
Well, let's see the first and hopefully the two clips, we'll be able to roll them together, if we could, from Arrival.
I'm human. Are you? Oh my God. Louise, that's incredible. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir. It's uploading back to base camp.
Human. human. Louise. I am Louise.
What is that? Is that a new symbol? I can't tell. Dr. Banks? Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, fine.
Jane?
They need to see me.
Taking off her headband to Dr. Banks. Is she okay?
You're risking contamination.
They need to see me.
Dr. Banks.
She's walking toward the screen.
Now that's a proper introduction.
Can you just describe where she is and why is she wearing this protective gear?
We are inside of an alien spacecraft, one of 12 that have landed at different sites around the world. And she is a linguist that's been recruited by the United States government to help decipher their language and figure out what their intent is. But that's only one sliver of film, yeah.
And what struck me is she was the person who, not only did she take off the gear, but she didn't flinch when this calamari, I don't know what else.
I'm hungry. No,
You know what I mean? She
yeah.
didn't even move, and that really struck me. You know, the guys are in the back, they're freaking out. She's walking up to this,
I love it, she's walking.
Why do you think Louise felt okay to take off this protective gear? She must have felt like they've established a connection, right?
Well, she finds out, pardon me, she finds out that they have, earlier in the film we find out that they've acclimated the chamber for a certain amount of time with a certain oxygen level and certain gravity components that allow it to be a habitable place. And then also, which seems to be a big question, there's also a canary in there. And a lot of people ask, what's with the bird? I'm like, oh, that's how she knows.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, you know, in Close Encounters with the Dove, they would bring birds into coal mines to check for gases, etc. So when she sees that, she's like, well, the canary's fine, I'm
Canary's fine, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
Why do you think she had no fear, though? Like when this...
I think she does have fear. I think she does. I don't think bravery is about not having fear. It's about standing firm through fear. And I think she understands the importance of standing her ground. She knows that, okay, even if they do mean harm, it will come to that. So I can't communicate with them in this suit if they can't see who I am, if I can't approach them being to being, they're not going, we're never going to reach them. They can't see who we are. I can't communicate with them. So I think she understands the importance of allowing herself to be vulnerable and hoping that that will create trust.
There's also somewhat of an ET moment, right? In that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that they, to me, it just spoke so much that the aliens sort of bothered. They have the screen up. You know, they've acclimated it perfectly for humans. They've sorted the gravity out in the station. Very thoughtful aliens. And she also is able to figure out early on, as, you know, like the first clip showed, we have to write this out because none of the verbal stuff is working at all, right? She just realized they're communicating in a different way.
Yeah, well, teaching, you know, I'm learning this, it's with my daughter. I have a 6-year-old and she's learning to read, but you learn to read and write at the same time. You know, they don't teach one and then teach the other. So she knows that, and she knows that there's a lot of different ways to learn and to communicate. There's a lot of, and yeah, so I think that's part of it, is it goes back to her training of recognizing that a visual form of communication is really important.
And they're so beautiful, these.
Aren't they beautiful?
They're
The
beautiful.
logograms?
Like, I want them on in my apartment. Like, you
Yeah,
know, there's
just a
more.
picture of-
They're amazing.
Yeah, I really think so too.
And the music is.
Oh.
It's the
You'll
same
hug
guy
it.
who did Sicario, right?
Yes.
Did you see Sicario? Do you remember the music? It was just like, it drew you down into this sort of rabbit hole of fear very effectively.
Yeah, there's a clip they've released online called Kangaroo, which if you guys love scores, I encourage you to check out. It is so beautiful and so cool and so unique and unto itself. Yeah.
So the film, until like a day ago, it's at 98 on Rotten Tomatoes. It was at 100. Do you read the reviews?
Sometimes I do, I have to admit. I stayed away from these for a while. I really did, just because the film meant a lot to me and I didn't want my experience to be skewed by other people's perception. But as it started to get good, I was like, I got a little like, wow, I want to see what there's there. I hate to admit it, but then there was the bad one, and that was pretty funny too. So
Right.
Anyway,
We don't need to talk.
but don't read it because there's spoilers. I'm sorry, I got to tell you.
But I'm going to quote from one that doesn't have spoilers, Anthony Lane in The New Yorker, and I feel like he hit a couple points very beautifully. And he said, above all, Villeneuve attends to Adams, using her as our gauge of these momentous events. Time and time again, we see her face responding to something before we properly witness the thing itself. The spry benevolence that carried her through a film like Enchanted has been cross-grained in recent years by the stern resolve of the master, the snap of American hustle, and now in Arrival, her gift for sorrow, her strength, and her instinctive sweetness of temper are rolled into one. Did you know you were doing that?
No. I feel like this is that moment, like at the end Jerry Maguire was on when I couldn't sleep this morning, and that moment where like Cuba Gooding Jr. starts crying. Like I feel like that's this moment. So thank you for that. I didn't. My work means a lot to me. I put a lot into it, so to have it even touch just this one person is pretty awesome.
But what he hits on too is how much your face carries the movie. Like he said, you're seeing stuff before we're seeing stuff. Like he's right up there in your eyes.
Yeah, there's some close-ups.
And so
I'm 42, right?
I mean,
just
but
have to
come
take a
on.
deep breath and move through it and go, hey, it's all good. It's all
Yeah, well, we suffer through that as an audience.
Oh, yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
But did this change how you were in the film then, knowing, and did you just discuss with Denis how much your face was going to reflect so much of this?
I asked him why he was going to hire me. This is a new question for directors. I have like a list of questions that I ask directors. And it's just because for a long time I would get hired and then I would do my thing and they were like, no, you have to do it this way or that way. And I would be like, oh, they hired me because they want to make her likable. And I don't want that. I like being likable. I mean, I have a lot of empathy for my characters, but so I've started asking directors, why did you think of me for this? And Denis says, because I have to see the world happen. I have to see everything happen in your face, and I think that you can do that. And that let me know all I needed to know about what his expectation of me was in the role, is just allow it to be real and present and play out.
And he is somebody who, he's known for Sicario, he's known for Prisoners, but of the 8 feature films that he's released, 6 are centered on women. And
Isn't he a cool guy?
yeah, the first 4, I mean, he wrote and directed himself. They were about women. And he said something which I can't find in my notes now that I found really interesting. He said that for him, the masculine is sort of about control and female is about the embrace and sort of the art of listening. Do you know that he thought that? Like, did you talk about the
Not in
masculine and the
those
feminine?
words, no. But that's how he directs. I mean, he is a gentle person, and he is not about control. That's not a part of his being. So maybe there's a part of him that identifies with that aspect in what he considers the feminine, and he identifies with that. But he's a very gentle. He's very precise, very intelligent, very emotional. I feel bad sharing stories about him, but I feel like I have to.
Well, it's just
So his daughter was on set, and her boyfriend was there. And I thought, oh, don't you want to kill him? Because I have a daughter. And he's like, no, look at the love. Why would I take that away from her? And I was like, oh. He was like, I can't rob her of that experience.
Okay.
I was like, oh, I love you so much, Denis.
Oh, it's
like,
sweet.
and that's him in a nutshell. Like, why would I rob anybody of that experience by being jaded or by being anything? It was beautiful. I was like, you really don't want to kill? I pressed him, trust me. I was like,
That's why Quebec is, I'm Canadian, can say this is kind of like the coolest part of Canada, because
Yeah.
Canada isn't, the rest of Canada, I'm not sure the reaction would be. But anyway, let's see another clip from the film. This one is entitled Kangaroo.
Everything you're doing there, I have to explain to a room full of men whose first and last question is how can this be used against us?
Kangaroo.
What is that?
In 1770, Captain James Cook's ship ran aground off the coast of Australia, and he led a party into the country, and they met the Aboriginal people. One of the sailors pointed at the animals that hop around and put their babies in their pouch, and he asked what they were, and the Aborigines said, kangaroo. It wasn't until later that they learned that kangaroo means, I don't understand.
I can sell that for now.
Yeah.
And remember what happened to the Aborigines? A more advanced race nearly wiped them out.
It's a good story.
Thanks. It's not true. But it proves my point.
A lot of people, that's actually a genuine urban myth. Like a lot of people believe that's, which it is.
I like that Louise character that I played. She's fun. Yeah.
Well, that clip, it just shows her faith, right? That they're not, why didn't she ever suspect that the aliens were why did she had patience.
It's not her job. I think she's someone who's really focused on the task at hand, and her job is to figure out their language, and from there to decipher why they're here. And, if she's, restrained or handcuffed from doing what she does and what she knows, she's not going to be able to do her job. And so for her, she has to make the decision that we'll never get to the bottom of why they're here if we don't communicate with them. We have to let go of our fear. We have to let go of suspicion in order to create communication, because I won't be able to tell you why they're here if I'm approaching them with suspicion.
Right.
I have to be open.
But she's also really keeping a fearful military at bay. If it's a different interpretation of the same,
Sure.
they're saying, well, if they're still here, there must be ill intent. Like that's the first presumption. I mean, they're giant aliens that have landed, obviously, but it's just a very different perspective that she comes in with.
It is a different, it is. And there's a part early in the film where she's very assertive, which I like. I sort of based her loosely on my younger sister, Anna, who's like this little pip. She's about, 5'2" and about 95 pounds, and she so smart, and she was a professor, and she would stand up to anybody in the face of what's right and what's wrong, and not in a black and white way, but in a way that has fact behind it. And I think having, a reference, I always enjoy that as an actor, to have somebody in mind that kind of gives me a grounded element,
You're also in another film coming out called Nocturnal Animals, which won the Grand Jury Prize at Venice. It was based on a 1993 book called Tony and Susan. It's about an unhappy wealthy couple, right? Or wait, the wife is unhappy.
He's pretty happy.
He's
but
fine.
You'll find out why if he's happy. He's doing just fine.
And she gets a book manuscript written by her ex.
By her ex-husband.
And we'll see a clip from this in a minute. It's so beautifully done. It's by Tom Ford, and it's so sumptuous. I feel like more fashion designers should direct movies. No, I don't know if that's true, but it just made it so visually delightful.
Yeah.
How did that come about for you? And why did you agree to the role?
I feel this is a really great time to reference a lovely lady in the front, Stacey O'Neill. She's my manager. I've worked with her 18 years, coming up on 18 years. There are times when I have personal stuff going on or whatever, but Arrival came to me in this way and Nocturnal in the same way, before I got a call from Stacy, and I can hear it in her voice when she says, read it. Read it now, call me back. And that happened with Nocturnal. And I read it and was very compelled by sort of this very simple story of loss, of regret, and met with Tom, and I didn't ask him why he wanted me. I was more concerned with like what I was wearing, to be honest, which is horrible to say. I think everybody is. When you meet Tom, you immediately like evaluate like how many wrinkles you have everywhere, and like, but he's not like that. Once you meet him, like, when I met him, I just said, hey, why do you want to make this? And he was like, oh, I love this Susan story, and I have this really wonderful way. I want to shoot this to talk about sort of the things we throw away, the things we keep, the consequences of this, loyalty, love, loss. And then he went into describing how he intended to bring you in and out of time and space, story, reality, and it was just, you guys will see because you get to talk to him, right?
Yeah.
He has this wonderful way of talking, and you're just like, this is awesome. Like, everything is like Tom Ford. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. And I mean it, it's really engaging. And I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And he had this wonderful vision of what Susan could be in the past and the present. And I loved who she was and what she became based on her choices. So that's that.
Well, let's actually have a confession. They did ask me to do the Times talk, but I was so intimidated. I'm like, what will I wear? I'll look so I'm not doing the Tom Ford Times. I mean, no, I'm such a coward, but I was.
You have to.
Oh, no, it's already booked.
Oh, because I was like, just call him and be like, Tom, I feel bad. Can I borrow something?
we're not
I
allowed
bet
to do
you
that. No, we
it
can't
would
do that.
arrive.
We're not allowed.
Not arrive. Not to bring it
into
back to that. That was a weird like tie-in. I bet there would be an arrival. Sorry. Cheap.
Let's see the
promotion.
Let's see the clip from Nocturnal Animals, please. Thank you.
You didn't sleep again, did you?
You know me. I never sleep. My ex-husband used to call me a nocturnal animal.
What? Ex-husband? I didn't know you had an ex-husband. Since when?
Couple of years in graduate school. It's weird, I've been thinking about him a lot lately, and then recently he sent me this book that he's written, and it's violent and it's sad, and he titled it Nocturnal Animals, and he dedicated it to me.
Did you love him?
Yeah, I loved him. He was a writer, and I didn't have faith in him. I panicked and I did something horrible to him, something unforgivable, really.
You left him?
I left him. I left him in a brutal way.
So some people have sort of likened the film and the visuals to like Pedro Almodovar, and just the, there's such strong colors and lines, and it almost seems though that Susan is trapped in this world a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, such sumptuous luxury, right?
Yeah.
But what's going on with her? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tom designed the world to be perfect because that's what Susan felt she had to achieve in order to meet the ideal of her expectations, her family's expectations, society's expectations. But that perfection becomes a trap. And now I feel like I'm doing Tom. I did it, trap. Sorry. But the perfection becomes a trap, and she loses what was at the core of her soul in order to attain something. And hides behind. I mean, the makeup is really harsh, and the clothes are very severe, but the Celine glasses are to die for, and I really wanted them. I have to admit, but they were really beautiful. But yeah, that was part of it, and I mean, she lives in this amazing glass house, which is like this completely transparent prison. It's amazing. He created a really wonderful visual element to the film.
Did you get to keep any of the clothes, or what was
No. I actually, as much as I want to, I typically don't keep my characters' clothes as much as I wear them, and I think this is beautiful. The minute I'd put it on in my normal life, I just can't. They're not my clothes,
Right.
you know.
And what was he like on set? Was he...
Great. He's so fun.
He ate bear claws? Like I saw
Oh,
you...
yeah, I love it. I'm horrible. I totally exposed him. Every morning I would come in, and he'd be in his Tom Ford suit, eating a bear claw, like a very large cinnamon roll. And I would be like, this is not what I expected at all. And apparently, Jake says he eats those Oreo Thins. Like, I don't understand quite how he gets away with it, but little fun fact. But as a director, he's actually very, he spends a lot of time, he's very meticulous, but he's also patient in the sense that he allows for scenes to play out. I mean, in this scene, I'm talking, but in a lot of the scenes, I'm reading a book or I'm reacting to something that's happening in the book, and he allows for space and time for us all to breathe life into the film.
There's another clip, I'm just going to describe it, where we go back in time. I just didn't get it lined up. And it's you and Jake, and you're younger, like you look younger, like you're digitized younger.
I was actually digitized older.
Oh, that's what I meant.
So it's weird. Yeah. No, I'm digitized younger. It was actually really fun. Everyone's like, was that hard? And I was like, no, it's awesome because I was never on camera in my 20s, or very rarely. Majority of my work is in my 30s. So I was like, that's maybe what I would have looked like. There's a bit of like, maybe. Anyway, I digress, but yeah.
And is it the first movie that you and Isla Fisher are in together?
Yeah.
Isla, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Because people often sort of conflate you two. They're like, oh, redheads.
Redheads, under 5'5". Right. Not tan.
But you didn't meet.
You look identical. We've never worked together before, but we've been. I met her for the first time outside of my audition for Catch Me If You Can. So we've known each other a long time, and she's really supportive of me as I am to her. We're both moms. We both sort of understand work-life balance, and we have great conversations, and she's a great girl. Yeah, and I love that she's playing sort of this idealized version of me.
Right, because what happens in the film is Susan gets sent a manuscript and is reading it, and that comes to life on screen. And so we see this alternate narrative happen. It's riveting. I mean, I didn't leave my seat, and I often have to. Anyway. So going back to Catch Me If You Can, was that in 2002? Was that 2002?
Gosh, who knows anymore?
I mean, do you remember her? She was Brenda with braces.
Yeah, it must have been 2002. Yeah.
And you were blonde. You are blonde, but then you became a redhead.
This is I've kind of gone pretty close to natural, but who knows anymore, right?
Right.
Like,
and you were blonde then.
Yeah, I was blonde-ish. Yeah.
Blonde-ish.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about Catch Me If You Can. Did you transition to redhead for a reason? But to redhead for a reason? Like, and you found
yes,
like there was a
because they hired a blonde that was 5'10" and really, really attractive, and she's a friend of mine, so it's not.
Who is it?
Her name is Sarah Lancaster, and now she's a brunette, oddly enough. But they thought, we can't have two blondes. Who's going red? And I looked at her as the 5'10" tan goddess that she is, and I was like, gee, I wonder who's going red. Who could they mean? So I went red after many discussions, and we all made the decision, and it was a good decision. It's been fun.
And I think you've said before that there was almost a perception of like if you're blonde, you're more flirty, you're more bitchy, or and if you you found
based on
the characters,
sort of the roles and sort of things that I was getting called in for, or people were responding to certain types of characters with me as a blonde. And the minute I went red, it just was like quirky, quirky and fun instead of like flirtatious and dumb. Like, it's great. I like that. But in all seriousness, it's just hair color, but it was really fascinating to see how just one element of yourself can change people's perception. And that became a very, very powerful tool for me, even in my acting. It's like you can change one very small thing, and create an entirely different perception to the outside world based on one thing. And that actually was really an important lesson for me to learn. I didn't quite get that before then, and I was like 27. I should have gotten that, but I didn't understand that.
Well, I don't know if a lot of people would think that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just you doing your thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Catch Me, it was a huge movie to get, and how did you end up getting it, and then why do you think things didn't pick up for you immediately right after?
I auditioned for Debbie Zane. I'm a huge fan of casting directors because they're your champion when you're sort of unknown and you don't have any sort of apparent leg up in the industry. These are the people that carry the tape to Steven Spielberg and say, I found Brenda and I really want you to watch her. Without her and other casting directors before and after, I wouldn't be where I am. So I'm so appreciative that she did that. And I met with Steven.
What was that like the first time?
Gosh. I wore the same outfit that I auditioned in, which was a pink cotton, probably purchased at Target if I know me, like cardigan with khakis. Did someone just give a holler for Target? I like that. Yeah. Hello. It's why I keep working, right? You gotta get those new towels at Target every couple of years, you know, months, whatever it is. I like white towels, and yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. So I went and met him in this outfit with no makeup, and I thought, I just want to give the most honest presentation of myself that I can, because then if I don't get the part, at least I was genuine. And I said things in that room which I'm so embarrassed about.
Like what?
He told me that he had 7 children, and I said, what on earth were you thinking?
But wait.
Because I'm one of 7 children,
right.
And we got to talk about it. And but, you know, that sort of thing, where I was like, ooh, maybe a filter would be good. But it ended up working because he sensed that I approached the meeting without guile, and he liked that quality for Brenda. So it ended up, that was being myself was a good strategy to play that girl, which I don't know what that says, but yeah, it was wonderful. He's a very, also very warm and compassionate. Denis has that quality where there's a compassion for the actor's experience on set. Because we know we're make-believing. Like, none of us think, I don't actually think I'm as smart as my character, or that I've gone through what my character has gone through. But in order to make an audience believe it, I have to believe it for that time. Like, I have to expose myself to what that would be. And Denis is very compassionate to that, as is Spielberg also has that. It's a very specific type of compassion for the actor.
And you were working across from this giant movie star, Leonardo DiCaprio. Was that like, were you freaked out? Like,
no way, no. I mean, at first I was, but he's so good. And working with him, it just felt like I got to breathe in his talent. You know, I got to participate, and it taught me a lot about going with instincts and just allowing scenes to happen. And it was just a joy to get to sort of watch him act across from me. So that was, it was a real wonderful experience. And working with Tom Hanks as well, Martin Sheen, I worked with amazing actors on that, and it was a great experience.
And Spielberg said this should have launched you in 2002, but a couple years, why do you think it just, luck, the parts didn't come?
No, I think opportunities came, but I think I was too nervous. I wasn't quite confident in sort of what I had to offer, and I still was trying to conform to some idea of what I should be as like a Hollywood actress, you know, or a movie star, and I just, not that. I mean, that's not what I was, it's not who I am, that sort of idea that I had in my head. And
can you describe what that idea was? Like
special, like different, other.
So you didn't want to feel special?
No, I didn't feel special.
You didn't feel special?
I didn't feel other. I didn't feel it, you know? I didn't have it. And it wasn't until I realized that, oh, only a couple actors are like that. The rest of us are just, we just love what we do, and we get to work hard. And if I don't, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's just that feeling of going through your 20s, you know? It's not a unique feeling. I just happened to be doing it in Los Angeles, you know? We all go through it. Like I said, I don't think my experience is other in that way.
Right. I mean, you're still settling into yourself, right, at that time.
I feel like I'm still settling into myself at 42. So at that time, I was a real hot mess. So yeah, it's true.
And then you got the part in Junebug, and this is.
Yeah.
Can we roll the clip from Junebug? This is. It's so delightful. Get that Junebug? Great.
What makes you tick?
All we got's dry cereal for you.
That's fine, Pat. Can I do anything to help?
Well, oh, no, No, nobody messes in my kitchen.
Oh, okay. Oh, Pat, your little ceramic thing. It really
Are you
wasn't-
wearing any makeup? Because you could wear more if you wanted to. You're so tall. I'm fair. But I like to experiment with a lot of different looks. Were you born in Chicago? I was born right here. Lived here my whole life. My favorite animal is the meerkat. Do you know what they are? They're so cute. Oh, I've got this little charm bracelet with meerkats on it. Do you have lots of boyfriends? I bet you did. Did you ever try out for cheerleading or anything? I tried out, but I didn't make it.
I was born in Japan.
You were not.
My father was in the diplomatic service, and then we moved to Africa, and then to Washington, D.C. for a short while, then back to Africa, and then to Chicago.
Wow. What kind of things did you like to do when you were a little girl? Like what type of things?
Oh, reading and horseback riding.
At the same time?
No, I never tried it at the same time.
I mean, it's just, she's beyond adorable, yet not irritating, right? You know what I mean? Like, it could have gone that way.
It could have.
And there's such transparency in her face. Like, for me, where you can tell that you're so good is her reaction to the Born in Japan. You know, it's just, her face is just pure astonishment. And, you know, and one of the things the director said that helped you get the part of Ashley was you didn't treat her as if she was covering up for something like a wounded bird. Was that because you sort of genuinely saw her as a joyful person? Where did you see her coming from?
I grew up Mormon, and I had an understanding of people of faith. And so I didn't see that she was without pain. I just felt that she relied on her faith. And I know people like Ashley. I know people who are in their 70s who are still like Ashley. So for me, that's where I came from, is that everything, it wasn't that she didn't have pain, and you get to know that in parts of the film. It's that she made a choice that she would be a light, and she made a choice that she would be joyful, and she would not spend time feeling sorry for herself or feeling, you know, like there are times in that where she could have felt embarrassed at her lack of intelligence, but those were choices. So it's also when people are like, oh my gosh, Ashley was so naive and stupid. I was like, I don't think she is. I think maybe naive and inexperienced, but I think she made a choice to be joyful.
And you grew up Mormon until what age? And then
About 11.
And then your family left.
Yeah.
And
My
how was that
parents.
on you? Like, did you?
It was strange.
Did you miss it? What was the
Well,
transition?
yeah, I mean, you miss the sort of the community that you've built, but I was one of 7 kids, so really, like, we were a pack anywhere we went, so I kind of still had that intact, yeah.
And why did they decide to leave?
They got a divorce, so, yeah.
And your mom was a bodybuilder, which is...
She did for a certain amount of time. She was not a professional bodybuilder, but I did go to a couple competitions as a young girl, and that was crazy naked. That was, like, insane. I remember my mom being hungry and then like going out for an ice cream, and then she like didn't get us one. Sorry, Mom, but it's true. She was like, I can't get 7. I'm just gonna get one sundae for myself. Yeah. After her bodybuilding competitions, she fed us. We had like pizza from Little Caesars, but like, you know, we were fed. We just didn't get the ice cream.
And your dad was a singer after being in the Army, right?
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of things, but in the Army he also sang. But yeah, he was a singer.
And did those things sort of make you, I mean, both are showmanship things. Did they at all play into like you thinking, well, maybe I'll go into, you initially went into dance, right?
Yeah, dance was not necessarily supported. My family was a lot more competitive athletically. They liked sort of, well, I can't say they. I hate to say they. Everyone has their own identity. But there was like a spirit of competitiveness and probably also like convenience that if you brought us all to like a track meet, you didn't have to like run one to like somewhere else. So we all became like really competitive little beasts. And we were put in gymnastics and track. So it was just more of that kind of thing. And so when I started dancing, they thought I was kind of kooky. Like, what do you mean you're not going to run? Like, you're going to dance. So, yeah, but I started doing ballet, and it wasn't necessarily that the showmanship came from my parents necessarily, but yeah, I think I was exposed to the idea of performing at an early age. Yeah.
And then
that was a long answer. Sorry, it's been.
No, you're here to talk.
Okay.
And then transitioning from, how did it go from ballet into acting?
I mean, I think if I'm honest with myself, when I was younger, I probably was drawn to acting, but again, acting was something that movie stars in Los Angeles did, and I never really, this was before internet and reality shows where anybody can be a star. It was like, well, I guess I'm not that, so I did love singing and I loved dancing, and I focused on dance, and dance led me to musical theater, which led me to acting. Yeah.
Sorry. And then I'm going to jump around a bit. So, actually, I did want to ask you about being a Mormon. Obviously, that instills something in you, right?
Sure.
And what did it that sets you apart, I think, from other actresses? I mean, there's this sort of core, right? I mean, I think that came out in Junebug, because you were able to see something in her that other people might have brought their judgment to.
Well, it wasn't so much judgment, it was that I knew her. I knew her. She was my cousin. She was my aunt. She was my friend down the street. She was someone that I knew, somebody who made a choice in the morning to forgive people every day, you know? And it's a beautiful thing, you know? And so I saw it as, I can't do it, you know? That's why it's fun to play somebody who can, you know? But I aspire to be forgiving and open and honest.
And then after Junebug came Enchanted. You were a Disney princess.
Crazy.
And was that like a childhood thing come true? Had you gone to Disney as a kid?
You know, you never really think you're going to be a Disney princess. Like, what are the odds of that happening? Like, I really became, I mean, I loved watching the fairy tales, of course, but it wasn't until Little Mermaid, when I was sort of transitioning through my awkward phase, that I sort of found this world, which was Disney, in The Little Mermaid, and reintroduced myself to all of the fairy tales, and yeah, I really kind of delved into that. And it was also because I was really into musical theater, and that was just an extension of my nerdiness, and I could sing and dance and run down the halls of my school singing Part of This World, and yeah. Anyway. Yes, and so I became a Disney princess.
And so what was the audition process? Like, didn't they interview like hundreds and hundreds of actresses, like 300 or something?
They did. I don't remember how many. I went in, I think, early on, and it was before they had begun to sort of do the big search, I guess. But John Papsadera, another amazing casting director who I had auditioned for many times before that, cast me and dropped a gorgeous sort of, from a distance, he cast me.
That was your first? And
I was in Minnesota, and he cast me out of Los Angeles. And so, yeah, so John Papsadera got to hire me again for Enchanted. He brought me into Kevin Lima, yeah.
And then how did you build this character? Do you just base her solely on the guileless Disney princess in the world of Manhattan? How did you build it out?
I mean, that's where she begins, but in the end, she has to transition. So there was a very sort of intentional arc of how she sort of loses her Disneyness in a way, I don't know, her naivete, and sort of becomes accustomed to what this world is, and is able to absorb the reality of what is the real world, I suppose. Yeah.
And your daughter must have seen this movie. Is
Yeah.
it like her favorite movie?
No,
No.
not even a little.
Her favorite movie of yours? Do you let her watch?
She's only seen Enchanted and clips of the
Okay.
Muppets, yeah. Yeah, she was mad. She's like, "What did you get to sing with Miss Piggy?" But she was younger when she said that. What is her favorite movie? She likes awesome movies. She likes like Howl's Moving Castle, yeah, and yeah, Spirited Away and all of Miyazaki's work. So yeah, I like that about her. She's a complicated little 6-year-old. Yeah, she's great.
And another thing too, in Enchanted, you were able to sing. Like you grew up doing in musical theater, and you've gone to the stage a couple of times. Is that something you see yourself returning to on a regular basis, like going back to the stage? And does it change? Does it change how you act when you step back onto the stage?
I got a wonderful opportunity to work in Central Park and Into the Woods with an amazing cast, and it really did, whet my appetite. Not just for the experience of developing roles and all of that, but the community of theater in New York is really a wonderful experience to be a part of, and it is something. It's a big time commitment, and right now there's a couple of things that I've circled, and I would love to do that. But I don't take it lightly. I don't think it's like, oh, I acted on screen so clearly. It's a very specific and beautiful art and craft to be able to create a performance every night, 8 shows a week. It's a beautiful thing that these actors are able to do.
And singing, is it something that, do you do it, I don't know, around the house? Like, you've got this beautiful voice.
lot.
Do you?
I really do. I'm so annoying. My daughter tells me to be quiet a lot. This is a new development. Mom, it's loud. But I do. It's one of those things that just makes me feel better, I guess. Yeah.
So you've been singing today?
Yes.
Okay. Just a dark, rainy day. So we're going to speed forward.
Raindrops keep falling on my head. Just keep, no, okay.
And then, in your career, you came Doubt and The Master, and these are when we get to see different shades of you. And was that something you made a conscious decision? Well, I've done the joyful thing, the sort of not naive, but I don't know, how would you, if you would lump Giselle and Ashley together, but there are other kinds.
Well, I call them like In Doubt as well a little bit. People were sort of like, oh, she's that thing, that naive thing, or that innocent thing. And I knew that me, myself, am not that thing. So I didn't ever worry that much. It was a bit of a trick to get, not a trick, that makes it sound. But it was a bit of a thing, because directors, sometimes they're not willing to audition you, and sometimes it's hard to prove to somebody in a meeting that you can be something else. I'm not going to walk into a meeting and act like my role in The Fighter. Like, that's not going to get me the part. That's probably going to get me booted from the restaurant. So, where you have to rely on directors having vision, and I was lucky enough to meet those directors.
So did you have to fight a bit for the roles, whatever fight means, for Doubt or The Master, or how did...
Doubt I did really go after. I really loved that role. I loved that script. I loved the play, and that they had cast another actress in the role, and she hadn't accepted it yet, and everyone's like, he's not taking meetings, and I said, well, is there any way, I just want to meet him anyway, just in case, just in case she doesn't take it. And so I lied to him to play a nun. I lied.
What did you say?
I said I was in New York, and would he want to meet somewhere? And I wasn't in New York. I flew from New Mexico. I was shooting Sunshine Cleaning, and I took a red eye to New York to meet John.
And then what did you say to...
No, we just talked. We talked. I told him that I really, responded to the character, and really, we just talked as you do. And he is like, I got to be honest, John's awesome. And he told me that there was another person attached, and I said, I know, but just in case. Right. I just wanted you to know of my interest in case she passes.
Awesome.
And she did.
And she did.
Yeah.
We're going to speed forward. I wanted to play this clip that I love so much. It's from American Hustle. I know we're jumping around, but your career has been. So if we could play I think, one of the most, it's a very sexy scene from American Hustle, please.
Didn't your fiance want to come out tonight?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We don't have to talk about it. I was just teasing you. I'm not...
It's all right. You ever think, like, how did I end up here? Like, how did my life become this? Do you ever think that? And you wonder, like, am I ever gonna get out to a better place, or is this it? You feel like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I definitely know that. I'm sorry, we don't have to go dancing. We can go have coffee or talk or something.
No. I need this. Please, I need to go dancing with you. Please.
Okay, baby, let's go dancing.
Total seductress, right? Like,
Yes, something. She was up to it.
I mean, there's so much going on there because your character is Sidney Prosser, but she's playing another woman for the permed Bradley Cooper. And had you played a seductor? I feel like that's the first time we saw you just like, you know, I mean, you were rolling out the sexuality.
Yeah, that was that girl's tool. So that was what she faced the world with. That was her way to manipulate.
Was that fun? I mean, her hair and her.
You know what was?
I was worried her top would slip.
Oh, it did.
all the time.
It totally did a lot. And so you know, I had a modesty moderator, Jen Lawrence, being like, "Really, really, Amy."
That's a thing? A modesty model?
No, Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh,
I was
right.
joking.
She was the, I see.
But she was always like, really? Again? Like, I have to see this? I developed really good posture. Let's just put it that way. But no, what I loved about it wasn't fun like being sexy. Like, I've never felt like that's my power because I feel like every woman is sexy. We're all sexual, right? Like, that's how we all got here. So for me, like, that's not my thing. And great if it is someone else's, but for this character, I loved how she used it and how, I mean, I didn't love it, but it was a great tool, a great way into her, is how she used it as a distraction technique and how she used it to make herself feel empowered. When she felt vulnerable, she would flip to that to gain power over a situation. And that was really something that I hadn't explored in a character before, and that was really intriguing to me.
Was it scary to step into? Was it unfamiliar in a way?
I mean, not in that way. I mean, in a way, because ultimately, what was hard about it wasn't scary to step into that, but that her embracing her sexuality as her power actually created a sense of powerlessness for her, because when you stripped that away, she didn't have anything else. She didn't know who she was without it. And so it actually felt kind of icky at times, you know, for lack of a better word. I felt really kind of devastated while doing that. Because there was always that underneath it, which was, it just felt shallow.
A void of sorts. But was the dancing scene fun? It was like real Saturday night fever. Was there actual music playing?
There was music playing. What I remember about that scene, it's funny what you guys see and then what I remember. All I remember David O. Russell being like, "Isn't there more baby oil anywhere in Massachusetts?" Like, because...
What?
We ruined more vintage costumes that day. He wanted everybody oiled up, like everybody. There was like 100 extras, and there was just the makeup department, like running out to every, Walgreens, CVS, anywhere you could find baby oil, just because they tried glycerin, which can be washed out. He's like, no, I want baby oil. The whole place smelled like baby oil and desperation of it was awesome. So that's the day for me, is just baby oil, yeah, but it was fun. I mean, it was fun. I do love dancing, and it's fun to get to do that. And Bradley's a fantastic dancer, by the way, guys. He's fantastic. But yeah, that's my memory. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those scenes, I've been on sets before, and it surprised me that, I went on a set where it was a jazz scene, and they were like, roll them, and it's totally quiet, and people are moving to jazz so we can hear the two characters speaking, like they're moving to imaginary music.
Yeah.
Right? And they fill in the music later. Was that at all happening, or were you guys able to really sort of...
Oh, no, there was dance music. I'm sorry, I'm going into my memory bank. This is how I do it now that I'm 42. It's like, I have to click it. I don't remember what the song, it might have been that song. David has an amazing way of picking a song, using the song, and then getting the rights. I don't know how he does it, but a lot of the music that we use, he'll play, and then he gets the rights too. It's amazing. He's a powerful force. Yeah.
And were you guys improvising the moves? Like the character is
except the hustle.
The time of his life.
Yeah.
It's just
the hustle is kind of choreographed. But we were just dancing. Like I said, Bradley's a fantastic dancer. But like the scene that takes maybe a total of like 60 seconds takes about 4 hours, and by the end, like you're like in these high heels that have now left like deep lines in your feet. But it's all right. I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
That feeling of emptiness that you talk about, that you felt devastated at the end of the day, I'd read somewhere that it was a hard movie to make.
Yeah.
You were crying a lot on set. What happened?
I don't know that I said I was crying. I know that got out there, but it makes me sound like I was in the corner. It's okay. I wasn't doing that. I think I was devastated because of the character, and then David works in a heightened way that sort of emphasized all of this stuff that I was sort of experiencing playing this character. Yeah, but no, I didn't. I definitely, struggled at times. Yeah.
And then this whole thing emerged after Jennifer Lawrence wrote a letter saying I'm not paid enough, and what was
that is not how it went. And what happened was there was some emails that were hacked into, and from that there was some information revealed about actresses' pay, treatment, etc. on the film. And so Jennifer Lawrence did not come out and say she wasn't paid enough. She came out and said this has to do with treatment of women and perception of women. Yeah. And
do you have any sort of thoughts on the letter or her saying that?
Sorry, thank you. There was one. Thank you. There was one. I get strangely defensive about my co-stars, so that's when I start to, then you see my Amy temper flare, because that's not what Jen said. But do I have feelings about it?
Yeah, like what do you...
Sure. Sure I do. I didn't write a letter about it, though, so my feelings on things like that are, the perception of women, I agree with Jen, it's about perception. Pay will follow perception. I don't know. I'm not sure this is the right time to talk about that, because it's a bigger conversation. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to go to questions relatively soon, so start thinking, and we're going to end with a clip of the fighter and your character, Charlene. So if you could please see that. Thank you.
Hi.
Well, look at this.
Look at what?
Why are you hiding from us, Mickey?
He's not hiding.
I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to my son. What are you doing next to, huh?
I'm right here. I ain't hiding from nobody else.
Well, you're not helping yourself with your father's scumbag friend, Lanano. What are you gonna do? Turn your back on Dickie next, huh? All we ever wanted for you was to be world champion.
Mickey's a grown man. He can think for himself.
Shut your mouth.
Skank. Don't call me skank. I'll rip that nasty hair right out of your fucking head.
I'm his mother. And his manager.
You're not my manager anymore, and I'm not waiting for Dickie, okay? I'm not getting any younger.
Who's gonna look after you, sweetheart?
About
I mean,
me?
come on. I know you don't understand it, but I had 9 kids, and I love every one of you the same.
You got a funny way of showing it, letting him get beat up, letting him get his hand broken.
You fucking boss.
You're crazy.
Fucking boss.
Mickey is my What did I just say to you?
What
did I
Let it go. Get the fuck out of here. Screw now.
Fuck you, Charlene. Gang. I want them the fuck out of here. Get them out of here.
Oh my God. I mean, first of all, she wasn't scared of the hair. Like, I would be terrified of those women. So who in your family did you base Charlene on?
Me. No, I mean, it's funny. Mark's like, when Mark was talking about, I was like, why do you think David wanted me to play this? He's like, oh yeah, David and I talked about it. You're totally Southie. And I was like, I'm not sure how to take that, but I think I like it. No, Charlene lives in me, so it's, I really loved playing her, and it was, I really do have to thank David for, when people are like, oh, how did you get people to change perception? David took a chance, and David sent me, I'd met him on some other things, and, it hadn't worked out that we worked before, but he took a chance. He said, I want you to look at Charlene, I want you to play Charlene, and I was like, the girl in the fight? Like, you want me to play that girl? He's like, yeah, can you throw a punch? And I'm like, yeah, I can throw a punch.
How did you know you could throw a punch?
I'm one of 7 kids. I can throw a punch, Like, you can throw a punch. So, yeah, I was like, yeah, I can, yeah, let's do it. And so I think that really helped people's perception. And I'm extremely grateful for that.
And just, I mean, her ferocity, like, she doesn't let up. Like, she has this conviction, in Mark, or in his character, in herself. Like, she's right, and she doesn't waver.
Well, everybody in that film was a fighter. That's why I like it's called Fighter. They're all fighting for something. Yeah.
And so in the fight scene, like, was it very choreographed? Did you get hurt at all? Like,
no. I mean, I got some bruises on my knees, but it was kind of fun. Like,
was it?
Yeah. I mean, a little. I didn't want to hurt the actress that I was hitting. That was my biggest concern. Was actually hitting her in the face. So she was lovely. I didn't want to do that. No, it was really. It's kind of like, you get that adrenaline that you get when you get in like a really good, conflict or confrontation. So I got to carry that around with me. I came out of the day all like pumped up, and I was like, my husband was like, can you please not bring the accent home? He's here. He had dated a girl from Boston, and he was like, oh, just. No offense to that girl. It wasn't that. It was just, but yeah. It was fun. It was fun. It's fun to unleash different aspects of your personality and get to tap into the things that you repress inside yourself inside of a role. That's a...
Yeah, what did you drill into? I mean, were you just like synthesize, I don't know, to bring her? You said you have it in her, in you, but what was it that you were sort of drilling into?
Inside of me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that fighter thing, that thing that we all have, when you're backed into a corner, what are you going to do? And I rarely cry when I'm backed into a corner. Like, I'm not that person, but I have to get all the way in the corner. Like, I'll walk into the corner for you. I will keep that engagement. I usually, I try to be diplomatic, but it's there, and I think being one of 7 kids, again, like I said, like I understand the dynamic of like a big family and sort of, and I have something in me that like, I care about what's right. I care about what's just. And so that anger, that kind of thing that lives inside all of us that sparks us to action, it's just Charlene's action was a little less sophisticated than I hope that, we all can hope to be. But, I like that about her. And that's inside all of us. I think we all have a little bit of a fighter inside of us. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to open it up to questions. I think, are we having people come down with...
I think so, because
are people coming out? Oh, or so if you maybe line up, and also on Facebook Live, people are watching, which they are. Just writing questions, and some will get relayed to me. And so we've got, microphone. We're not going to go again. We're going to keep the elephant out of the room tonight. So we'll focus on Amy. All right. Yeah.
Hi. I was lucky enough to be at the Academy Awards when you were up for Junebug.
Aww.
And I saw you at the governor's ball, and you had on this great gown, and we said we were rooting for you to win. And you were just so charming, and you said to me, you know what's cool about this gown? It has pockets.
Yep.
And you showed me your pockets. They were precious. But
Thank you.
You were so young and new on the scene. How has it changed? Is it still exciting? Is it become more of a job as you go on through your career? Do you lose that?
Yeah, it is still exciting. I think for me, because I started as a dancer and because I started doing theater, it was always a job in some way. Like I had a really great understanding that there was work and then there was life. But I think that as I've had my daughter, that's become more separate. And in a way, that makes me value work differently. It's not to say more or less, but it's just different. Work is different now. And a young actress asked me recently, she's like, oh my gosh, because she's gotten really busy, she got a lot of attention, she's fantastic. And she said, how do you keep it alive? And I said, it's kind of like a relationship, you know? You're going to go through ups and downs. You're not going to always have that, you know, that look at my pockets moment or enthusiasm. But if you have a love for it to begin with, that love will take you through to whatever is the eventual end of your career.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi. I don't know if this is on. Hello? Hi, I'm Lori. I'm the one that clapped.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I totally agree, as goes perception. And it just, as they say, the wheels of the gods grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. You mentioned earlier that there's a special kind of empathy that certain directors have. Would you mind tell us a story that illustrates that so we better understand what you're talking about?
There's one that Stephen, that's the first one that comes to mind. I was doing a scene that I don't think made it into the eventual cut of the film, and it's a scene where I'm dancing with Leo, and then he says, I love you so much, Brenda. And it's written that tears spring into her eyes. So all I could think is, and I cried a lot on the set, so it wasn't so much that, but for some reason I put a lot of pressure on myself to have this moment of like, you know, and it wasn't happening. And Stephen came over and took me aside instead of being like, cut, you know, like it's not happening. He brought me aside and he says, you know, you're doing beautiful work. And if this is what you have today, then it's enough. He said, I just want you to try one thing. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think about the love that you have in your heart. I want you to feel it. Now take it out of your head, put it in your heart. Take it out of your head, put it into your heart. And keep it in your heart. And we went back into the scene, one take. That kind of compassion, where he understands that I must be nervous. I'm working with Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm working with him, and instead of putting all this pressure on me to be perfect, he helped me get to where he knew I could go if I took the pressure off myself. So that's.
And that made me cry on this rainy day, so thank you for that. That's a beautiful thought.
Yeah. Take it out of your head, put it into your heart. Yeah. Hi.
Hello. I'm just curious, are there any other directors that you want to work with right now? You've worked with a bunch of great directors in the past, like as you said, O. Russell, Paul Thomas Anderson, Spielberg, and now Tom Ford, and Denny, whom I love dearly. Is there anyone that you want to work with?
Oh, sure. Sure there are. There's a list that I've kept for a long time. I know, it's crazy. I was one of those people like vision lists, you know, when I was like 18. And I've got to work with some of them. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's probably, I keep adding names as these new emerging filmmakers come out, but I try to be open, because for me it is about the filmmaker, but it's also about the story. And so I try not to get caught up. I've said no to filmmakers that I really wanted to work with because I didn't feel that I couldn't connect with the story or the character. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hi, Cynthia. I just wanted to thank you for really making redheads fabulous these days. 'Cause I think right now...
I'm one of like a big handful of girls doing it.
That's what I'm saying. Right now, in the industry, there are more redheads than ever.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I want to thank you, and I have a little gift for you.
Oh, thank you.
Can I bring it?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe just, there, we'll come and grab it in a second. Thanks. All right.
That's very sweet of you. I feel the need to
Okay.
be friendly. Thank you. It's very sweet of you. Sit that over here. Here, so I don't forget it, because I'll walk off stage and then you'll think I'm not grateful.
Hi.
I don't know why I walked like that. Like it's a secret that I'm walking across stage. I don't know. It's, like I have to tiptoe. I'm such a nerd.
Okay.
Oh, super.
Amy, it is such an honor to meet you. My mother and I are big fans of your work, and we love how you transcend into one role into the other.
Thank you.
And forgive me if this is a stupid question, but about your movie Arrival, was there a sci-fi movie that inspired you to take the role?
There were a lot of sci-fi movies that inspired me. Close Encounters was one of my favorite. I love that and the way that it let itself slowly unfold, but it was really based on this character. I also loved, Contact. I loved The Abyss. I loved the female characters. Again, they were smart, they were intellectual, and yet they had a vulnerability and a real feminine quality that brought something special to the discoveries in those films.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. You said earlier that you used your sister to think about your character in Arrival. And for example, in Big Eyes, there was Marguerite Keane. You were portraying an actual prison. Did that change the way you thought of the character? Like trying to be true to her?
Absolutely. I met Margaret. I got to spend quite a bit of time with her. And, you know, there's not a lot of footage on her at that time period, so I had to sort of go on my instinct. But she was really open and honest with me. And, but I did use someone else for that as well, and I won't say who, because she'll get really mad, but my husband knows who it is, who's a very strong but silent type, very quiet, soft-spoken woman, but yet very strong and sort of, I used her as I oftentimes, I think for me it helps me find flexibility in my roles. It's not that I use them or that I'm thinking of them while I'm doing the role, but it helps me understand that someone out there like that exists in the world, and it gives you permission to maybe play something that other people don't know, or other people might find like, well, what? I don't know that no one acts like that. And I'm like, I actually know somebody that acts like that. So for me, it really helps create freedom inside the role.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Hi. First of all, I have to say you're a true inspiration. I'm an actress as well. And you're, if not my idol, you're like my idol, actually. So I'm nervous. So I have to ask a question. It's really hard getting into character, but how do you get out of a character so that does not affect you as a person or jeopardize, let's say, future roles as well? Because sometimes when you play a really dark part and then you have to audition for like the complete opposite, how do you get it out of the character?
I mean, I had a hard time with that at different times in my career, and I've been more successful at other times than, I worked with a really awesome woman named Warner Laughlin, and I still sit and talk with her a lot when I'm getting ready to do a role. But we create a space that the character lives in. I don't tend to bring you can't help but bring your own experience or references, and you kind of grab from lots of different areas of your life, but I never mistake my pain for my characters, because I'm having an empathic response to the human experience as an actress. I can do it in a way, if I'm doing my job well, that allows it to be real, but I don't own it. I don't own it. And so I think having my daughter also helps, so that doesn't help. Go have a kid. No.
Well, if that helps.
It'll help a lot.
If it helps, I will.
But it did help me, because really there was no way to bring these characters home and be successful, at least for me. Some people can do it, but to bring them home and be successful as a parent wasn't going to happen, so that helped me figure it out really quickly. But find a safe place for the character to live. Build a life for the character that isn't yours. You can use yourself, you can use people, but don't own it. Okay. Give it to your character and then let it go. And it gives you so much freedom inside the role to do that too.
Okay, thank you so much.
These will be the last two questions here. Thanks.
Hi, I've been a really big fan of yours since I saw you in Enchanted when I was 12. So I was just wondering, I'm currently studying studying to be a screenwriter, and I was wondering, what do you look for in a script or a character when it's given to you?
I think there's different things, but I think the most important thing to me is that making sure that the character is not simply serving the story, that the story can service the character. So does that make sense? The characters help tell the story, but if I feel like the character starts to get confusing because they're trying to tell the story as opposed to stay true to the character, it takes me out of the experience of reading it, and then I probably I'm not connected. So for me, it's using the character, building the characters. That's the thing that takes me, and then helping them tell the story. Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. I'm like, that.
And our last question.
Good evening. First of all, my nieces love Enchanted, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
They have a great time watching that.
Oh, you know you watch it at night.
Yes, I have seen it.
You know you're like, come on, little friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah, come on.
Very much. I wonder, how was it like working with the Muppets? And will you and
It was
Jason
cool.
Segel maybe come back and do another movie?
Yeah, no, I loved working with the Muppets. The puppeteers are extremely talented, and they have this wonderful skill set that you had no idea existed of being able to sort of operate under waist level of everybody else, and they're wonderful. But the Muppets were a big influence on me growing up, so it was a wonderful experience. Thanks, guys.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming
Thank you,
out.
guys.
Thank you, Amy.